Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we have the pleasure of watching whY to be red. Firstly, you know what, you win the name of the year award. Obviously it's the whY to be mad meme mixed with obviously being red inside World of Tanks. You know what, when I actually have to explain things, they're not nearly so interesting, right? It also has a throwback to Jingles' awesome whY to be mad series, and if you haven't seen Jingles' videos of World of Tanks, then you've been living under a rock. Go and give Paul some support by checking his whY to be mad series. So today, whY to be red. If I call you mad a few times in this replay, buddy, you're just going to have to forgive me. It's going to just show you why the mouse is just the best tank inside World of Tanks. Sure, whY to be red is in a fairly nice matchup here against no self-propelled guns. But you know what, that just means that there's more opportunity for the mouse to be the juggernaut that it is. This vehicle is the heaviest tank in the game, weighs just shy of like 190 tons. And honestly, nothing feels like the mouse. Nothing at all. I've talked about this a lot on YouTube before, but you know what, I'm gonna blooming do it again anyway. I think this is one of the highest skill cap tanks. And once you really get a synergy with the mouse, just like whY to be red is gonna show you today, it just feels oh so rewarding. Although, I tell you what, if you thought this was going to be a replay where the whole of the enemy team were absolutely awful and none of them fired any gold at the mouse, well, you're going to be frightfully disappointed. As we can see that immediately the SW1 and the mouse are doing exactly what you need to do to this vehicle. And that is shoot gold at its cheeks, or shoot gold at its lower plate, or get its side, or get its rear. But even when you get its side, if you're in a tier 8 vehicle or a tier 9 without much bend, you kind of have to have its side at like a 90-degree angle, or you're going to be in a whole heap of trouble, as the mouse is just this absolute juggernaut with regards to its armor. And oh dear, nothing more fitting than Patton the tank basically just sitting there and taking it from a mouse. I don't know, man. I've been trying to think about whether I think Patton the tank was good or bad for the game. Obviously, it does create a little bit of an unbalance, and I almost feel like Wargaming need to give Patton the tank super special matchmaking, so Patton the tank, there has to be one on each team. Personally, for me, I like it. I think that it brought a load of people back to the game, especially at an important time, the holiday season, to get people back into World of Tanks. And I think, even though it's annoying when you've got like a Patton the tank on your team and they're clearly just a complete noob and they don't do anything, I think just also having them on the enemy team to have a little bit of fun with is kind of filthy, but it's a little bit of fun. And it amazes me that here we are, like half a year later, after Patton the tank was in the game, and people are still playing it. Whereas you look at a lot of the vehicles that have gone in loot boxes recently, I don't know, like what is it even called, the AAT-60? I don't think I've seen one since the first week of the loot boxes. Is that how it is? But Patton the tank remains. So there's obviously like a huge amount of players who got Patton the tank who are just casual players. They are like the happy little strawberries who just want to drive around in tanks and don't really care if they do well or they do bad. And I can tell you, all of you sweaty players out there who'd like to get 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 damage per game, you want to get your 2 kills per battle, you wouldn't get that if it wasn't for those happy little strawberries driving around. So I think Patton the tank, well, it can be frustrating when one of them throws the game on your team. Anything that Wargaming can do to get the happy little strawberries continuing to play World of Tanks that isn't at the expense of, should we say, the integrity of the game, I think it's fantastic. So Patton the tank is a big thumbs up from me, and I hope that we're going to see something similar maybe this Christmas period. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if you got to see them like once every 6 months, personally. But yeah, once a year would be really good, and I'd be really disappointed if Wargaming don't do something similar for this kind of a period. But I guess if they make it too predictable, does that mean it's really going to be like special to get a free tank? Nah, I think once a year is still pretty special, considering how much the doomsayers are saying that, you know, World of Tanks is in full milk mode, and while it might be in full milk mode, how many years is it going to go on for, right? One thing is for certain, that even at the end of the server in the World of Tanks end times, the mouse is still just going to be there. It's going to be iconic. I mean, you can't get rid of it. I mean, you actually can. When Wargaming switch the servers off, you won't be playing your mouse anymore, unless you go and play a different tank game, I guess. But I will be playing the mouse up until the day that they turn the servers off. And this will definitely be one of the tanks that I play on that kind of like final day. The mouse is just so iconic. It's so fun. It's just absolutely it's amazing. And if you haven't got yourself a mouse yet, I thoroughly recommend to go for it. Give it a go, see how it feels, and you might be pleasantly surprised. Actually, you know what? At first, you're going to be like, what is this? QB has sold me snake oil. But then a few of you are going to realize, yo, when I actually angle, oh, this feels good. Whoa, why am I getting such high ricochet games? Oh, why am I getting lots of steel walls? Why am I suddenly realizing that it's sometimes not about the damage that you deal, but kind of just like locking down your opponents, or alternatively making the push play for your team? And if you angle your armor correctly, then the enemies just go, oh, I'm not even going to shoot the mouse. I'm going to shoot the people who are pushing with the mouse, unless they make a terrible mistake. Talk about mistake, that mouse hasn't taken a fire extinguisher, just like why you have to be red. But there is, not taking a fire extinguisher on a mouse is one thing, but not having a fire crew on a mouse that doesn't take a fire extinguisher is another thing altogether. So why you have to be why I did it, why you have to be red, managed to get a juicy fire there, just farming like 2,000 damage from that mouse instantaneously. And in fact, if we look at the previous two shells as well, that is like nearly 3,000 damage that why you have to be red has farmed off that mouse. Another reason why the mouse is just epic. It makes games big. It inflates your damage. You can get like big games when there are a mouse on the enemy team. At least when you're a top tier tank with good gold rounds, right? Otherwise they can actually be really frustrating tanks to play against. Although I don't think anyone's ever said the mouse has been overpowered, at least since Wargaming nerfed it. Do you remember when its rate of fire was like 10, 20, 30% higher than it is now? And it honestly was the best tier 10 heavy in the game for that period. Wild stuff. Unfortunately, why you have to be red kind of aimed a bit like a red player there. I think they could have aimed just a little bit higher and a little bit more to the right. But then again, you don't want to sit in front of a Jaegeru for very long, right? When you got thick German armor, the last thing that you want to sit in front of is the highest penetration in World of Tanks, like the Jagdpanzer 100. So who am I to say how why you have to be red is playing here? Because they're up to 6,000 damage already. I would consider this to be an epic game in the mouse. And if you look at the top of the screen, 6,000 hit points and 6 tanks left versus 10,000 hit points and 9 tanks left. Oh, you know this is looking like it's going to be a spicy round of World of Tanks. Can you believe that why you have to be red is up to 6,000 damage, but they haven't even got a frag so far in this game? Although, is that going to end right here, right now? As they aim for the mouse, yes it is! As they shut down Phaser on the enemy team. But still with a full health Jagdtiger and a low health Jagdpanzer 100. Oh, that Jaegeru is sliding in a bit of an awkward fashion. They managed to finish off the Minotauro. And why you have to be mad, I'm not sure if that's an overmatch on the top of the Jaegeru. It might be if that thing's only got 40 millimeters of roof armor. But why you have to be red has to watch out here because they fired all but 6 of their gold rounds. And there are still some heavily armored vehicles left on the enemy team, like the CC Mark II, the Jagdtiger, and even the WZ-111-5A, who's actually called Smoking Weasel on the enemy team. But I don't think that's how you spell weasel. It's kind of more like diesel with a W. Wouldn't recommend smoking diesel. Probably not going to be very good for you in the short term and also in the long term. But smoking weasel on the enemy team has managed to make their way through the eastern flank. But none of those 3 vehicles that were spotted on the east have been spotted. But do you notice how why you have to be red was thinking, I'm going after that Jagdtiger. I can fight that Jagdtiger. But as soon as he saw somebody enter the cap circle, he makes a great decision. And that is fall back, protect the cap. The Jagdtiger has to push through the valley anyway, and it takes a long time for any tank to push through the valley, let alone a Jagdtiger, which I don't think has the best of ground resistances in soft. And as everyone knows, man, this valley is very soft with regards to its ground resistances. So why you have to be red nearly is rocking and rolling. Doesn't look like they've quite managed to get up to that wonderful 26 kilometers an hour that this vehicle gets with the field mod, the penultimate field mod on the vehicle. But then again, they are on bad ground resistances, so maybe they just haven't managed to quite get there yet. They also haven't put a bond durability device, but why you have to be red, mate, you got to get one. You're such a good mouse player. It's an embarrassment that you haven't got the most healthy mouse in the game. The bond durability device will not only give you the extra 50 hit points to reach that magical 3,550, but also means that your tracks are very, very hard to deal with on the enemy team. And as everyone knows, the mouse is not a tank that likes to be locked in place. So why you have to be red gets locked down by the CC Mark II, realizing they're going to have to push the cap circle. They think about going for the tracks there just to get the interrupt. Remember, you can just do critical damage to be able to interrupt an enemy tank, but they decide to be able to go for the damage as well, as just tracking the CC Mark II isn't really going to stop him from being able to pound him with those AP rounds that the CC Mark II is firing. They followed up with a second shot, now over 8,000 damage, angling their armor perfectly here. 45 degrees. right in between the two enemies that are luckily at kind of like the 90-degree angle, so they're just aligning their vehicle up right through the center, keeping the turret working towards the CC, keeping their turret working towards the 5A, thinking about which tank is going to be able to shoot them next, while also still just having the hit points to weather the storm, to keep doing the damage, and just like slowly grinding down the opponent. It's like a tide washing up against a rock right now. The enemy team just unable to deal with the mouse. And why you have to be red is now one shot away from dealing with the Mark II. Why you have to be red is not only blocking the enemy team right now, they're actually blocking their own team as well, as we can see. Ricocheting a shell from the 111 GFT behind. Now turning their attention to the CC-59. Why you have to be red has to be careful because the Yak Tiger is starting to advance who's in the valley. That's a pretty lucky shot right through the side there, but I don't think anyone's going to complain right now. That's why you have to be red. Secures over 9,000 damage. But they're still not done here. It's neck and neck. Down by 600 hit points. Even on kills. Now even on hit points as well with a full health Yak Tiger behind. Why you have to be red has to push forwards into the danger zone here to get out of harm's way from that Yak Tiger and deal with the 5A and the CS-59 in front. Looking for the Polish medium. The WZ-111 5A fires, makes a big misplay, doesn't realize that 190 tons of German pain is approaching them from behind, and that's one of the last things that 5A is ever going to do. A smoking weasel on the enemy team gets shut down. Unfortunately, why you have to be red. Looks like the intuition switch there, unless I'm mistaken, to an APCR round to deal with the Yak Tiger. However, with 2 shots missed, this is very awkward. And Patton the tank, called HDHDHD, who's playing the tier 9 American medium tank, is just locking down the Yak Tiger's focus, which allows why you have to be red to put in shots. Looks like they've damaged the engine and damaged the tracks. That's going to slow the Yak Tiger down to stop them from getting through. Hits the tracks once again. All of their gold fired now as why you have to be red. Says 11 in the chat, signifying 11,000 damage that we have seen. Another shot right into the track, just absolutely perfect. Will, why you have to be red, pick up the Top Gun. Oh, of course they are going to. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you look up Epic World of Tanks mouse game in the dictionary, why you have to be red will be right there. Cements the final word of the game with a GG, and boy, this was a GG with just shy of 12,000 damage. This is why the mouse is epic, and this is why World of Tanks at tier 10 is epic as well. This vehicle been in the game since the beginning, and it will be one of the last tanks I ever play if it comes to the end of World of Tanks. So the blind shot here actually did allow why you have to be red to breach the magical 12,000 damage mark, nearly 12.5k. Top Gun for those 6 kills, a whopping 1,754 base experience for pretty much putting the team on the back here. They almost were the team, although, you know, don't hate on the honest HDHDHD Patton the tank player who fired 12 shots. They did a respectable 1,000 damage, but they were alive at the end to allow why you have to be red to flank the Yak Tiger. They get a steel wall medal, unsurprisingly, for blocking 6,600 damage. Enough to destroy, like, most tier 10 heavy tanks, like 3 times over. The mouse, just about a couple times over. And the only thing that I didn't like here is that why you have to be red fired 168,000 credits of ammunition. But, bro, with a credit reserve, they still make 67,000 credits profit, and they've probably set themselves a new damage record. More than I've ever done in World of Tanks by 1,500. So I'm sure making credits while achieving that, even though that is a staggering amount of credits to spend on ammunition, will not even be considered. So, why you have to be red. Congratulations to you on this mammoth game of World of Tanks, and thank you so much for uploading it onto the whY Replays website for the community to enjoy. I thoroughly did, and I hope all of you out there enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Friday morning, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby with brand new drop tokens. So come and get 10 tokens as it's the weekend so that you can either choose the Tiger 131, the TOG, the Britannia Panther, or my favorite, the Cromwell Berlin, absolutely for free, just for watching my streams over the next couple of weeks. So see you all live right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.